Hey everybody, Zolo here with another pet overview. Now this time I'm going to be covering the Silithid family tree. We're going to start off with the classic Silithids that everybody knows and loves, and we're going to work our way up to the boss models. So here we go. Our first Silithid that we have is a yellow Silithid, and as you can see, he is very happy. But right away, you will notice that the Silithid looks almost similar to a praying mantis and a spider if they ever made one combined. Now, if you're wondering where to find this yellow Silithid, he can be found in Ungaro Crater at the Slithering Scar. Our next Silithid is red, and as you can see, this one seems to have a spring in its step too. But if you're wondering where to tame this red beauty, he can be found in the Noxious Lair in Teneris. Our next Silithid is the same Silithid that I actually used during the Wrath of the Lich King period. Guess what? It's blue! And if you wonder where to find this blue beauty, he can be found right across the Noxious Lair in the Gaping Chasm. This poopy brown version of the Silithid is the same Silithid that actually Diego seems to be using right now. And if you're wondering where to find the same Silithid that Diego uses, it can be found underwater in the Thousand Needles. Now, if you went hunting for any of these Silithids, you will immediately notice that there are wasps crawling all around the place. Now, why is that? Are these Silithids too? Well, they are Silithid wasps. Now, they do not have the Silithid's special abilities. They're just wasps that actually look similar to the Silithid models. That's pretty much it for these guys. Petopia calls them ant models, but here at DZ Hunters we call them the army ant models. That's because they're tougher and meaner. And as you can see, these do not have a spring in their step. They are much more serious. Now, if you're wondering where to tame these army ant models, well, they can be found in similar places where you found the original Silithids. Yeah! Now we have the serious red army ant model, and look at him. He looks like he's about ready to Rochambeau you. That's how serious he is. And now if you wonder where to find him, guess what? He's in the Noxious Lair where the original red Silithids are. Once again, my personal favorite, the cool blue army ant model. This one is a little bit less serious, and if you're wondering where to find him, you guessed it, he's in the Gaping Chasm. One thing you will notice that all of these army ant models seem to have a very similar attacking pattern and movement pattern. And this movement and attacking pattern is the same exact pattern that the beetles use. Is there any similarities between them? Not really, they both have different special abilities, but this is strictly meant for variety. If you want your Silithids hopping and skipping around, then the classic ones are for you. If you want the army ant models to look more serious, then this one is for you. And now it's time to move on to the boss models! But there is one boss model of these Silithids that everybody seems to be very familiar with. What boss model is that? Well, it's quite obviously the Brain Bug. Now look at this Brain Bug here. He's got, well, look at that. I think, yeah, he has flies flying around his brain while he's emitting that orangey glow. And I think that's cobwebs, but I'm not entirely quite sure. Oh, if you heard a yawn, by the way, that's my dog. So, this is the Brain Bug model. He can be found in the underwater area of Thousand Needles where the same brown Silithids are. Isn't that cool? Now let's move on to other boss models. Our next boss model can be found in Ungaro Crater at the Slithering Scar, where you find the, I believe it was the reddish army ant models, and the Silithids that are yellow. Look at this guy, he's an exact tribute to Buru the Gorger. But instead of going into AQ20 in order to find this guy and tame him, you can just head over to Ungaro and tame him yourself. Now look at this guy. He does not have an exposed brain. He has a shell over his head, which looks a lot like the Spider-Man colors, but that's what I like about him, because he's a little Spider-Man Boo the Gorger. Our next Silithid boss model is known as the Red Silithid boss model. However, he looks a little pink, which is questionable, but we don't care. This guy looks fantastic, especially if you're a Blood Elf hunter, because let's face it, he's red, and red is your primary color. However, none of these Silithid boss models would even be considered tameable if it wasn't for Zila 8. Zila 8 made these guys tameable, so big thumbs up to Zila 8. This is her big blue bug, and of course, it's my favorite kind! I mean, look at it, it looks awesome! Ah! And our final Silithid boss model is known as the Orange Silithid boss model. However, he looks more golden to me. And if you're wondering where to find all of these three Silithids, guess what? They can all be found inside AQ40. They are the second boss, known as the Silithid Trio. I believe we already have a video showing how to tame all of them. To cover the Silithid special ability, it's known as Venom Web Spray, which roots the target for 5 seconds. This ability works exactly the same as the Spider's Web ability, rooting for 5 seconds, but the thing is though, the Silithids actually have a bonus ability which grants Fortitude. That's right, the Priest Fortitude buff. It's really nice and it gives the whole party extra stamina, and raid as well. So basically, the Silithid is the exotic and better version of the Spider Pet. And that has been a little overview of the Silithids, covering Classic to Army Ant to Boss Model. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!